I'd like to call the September the 18th, 2023 meeting of the City Council for the City of Lake City to order. If everyone would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance or remain standing for the invocation to be given by Council Member Chavella Young. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We bow our heads, oh gracious God. We come before you right now, oh God, with bow our heads, oh God, our hearts, humble, oh God, asking you, oh God, to just guide us through this meeting. Help us, oh God, clear our minds, oh God, and clear our hearts. And help us, oh God, this council, that we will make the right decision, the decisions which are best for this city, the communities within the city. And then, oh God, we ask, oh God, that you, a special blessing for the Jones family, oh God, and some are here today, oh God. We ask that you comfort them, oh God, heal their hearts, oh God. But, oh God, we ask you that within these decisions that we make, the things that we do that surround them and their homes, we ask you, oh God, to just give us what we need. Give us the answers, oh God, the guidance, oh God, that we would do what's best for them. We just ask all of this, oh God, and we ask that you bless the first responders, oh God, and their families, and just help us through this way, through this journey of God and in leading this city. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, the Lake City, Ms. Sykes, we call the roll.
Mr. Jernigan?
Here.
Mr. Hill?
Here.
Ms. Young? Here. Mr. Sampson?
Here.
Mayor Quinn?
Here.
Mr. Dial?
Here.
Mr. Kennan?
Here.
Chief Butler?
Here. Ladies and gentlemen, the Lake City Council has opened this public meeting. Since 1968, the city code has prohibited any person from making personal, pertinent, or slanderous remarks or becoming boisterous while addressing the council. Yelling or making audible comments from the audience constitutes boisterous conduct. Such conduct will not be tolerated. There is only one approved manner of addressing the council, that is to be recognized and speak from the podium. As a reminder, persons are not to openly carry a handgun, carry a concealed weapon, or firearm while the governing body is meeting. Under item 1, I'd like to recognize Councilman Jay Kill for being the 2023 Florida League of Cities Home Rule Hero Award recipient. Congratulations, Mr. Hill. And under minutes, we have minutes from the August 15th workshop, August 16th workshop, 21st regular session, 28th emergency call session, and September the 11th, 2023 special call session. Is there a motion?
So approved, Mayor. Second.
Motion and second to approve the minutes as published. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, under agenda, I'd like to move item 24 up to this, right after this. And items 15 and 18, ordinances 2260 and 2263 will be removed because they still are at the zoning board level. With that amendment, I have a motion.
So moved, Mayor. Second.
Motion and second to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Under item 24, want to have a discussion about street designation for Verona Regina Smith. This was brought to my attention by Mr. Glenn L. Bowden, and he sent me some information on it, and I think it's a good idea. I think it's something that we need to consider, something that we need our attorney to look into how to properly do it, and Mr. Bowden will explain that it is to recognize Long Street but not totally change the name of it. And I'll call him up in just a minute. At this time, Reverend Goggins and Miss Betty Goggins, if y'all would come up.
Good evening. Okay. My husband's asked that I speak on behalf of two of us, but I stand first to say good evening and to Mayor Witt and to each of our council members, a big thank you. On Saturday, September 16th, a wonderful celebration was given on behalf of my husband, Barry Melvin Goggins, and I just want we want to say thank you for the proclamation, and I also want to say thank you for the job that you've been doing. It's a hard job, you know. All right? Okay. All right. And as a pastor, also, you know, he's over a lot of our members, and we're in support also of the street designation for Mariah Reginae Smith. And again, even though she's deceased, we think that's a wonderful, wonderful thing that's going to happen. So again, thank you for celebrating my husband as a community leader, and thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to call Mr. Bowden up to tell us a little more about the street designation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. Just to say, I want to read something to you in preparation of the phone. This technology is getting away from me. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council, during about 1156 Northeast Bascom Norris Drive. I'm reading a press release that was issued by the police department. It says that, I won't read it all. On Thursday, August the 24th, 2023 at 9:06 p.m., officers from the Lake City Police Department were dispatched to Northwest Long Street to report of a person shot. Upon arrival, officer located a 12-year-old female suffered from a gunshot wound. First aid was administered to the victim by officers and then by EMS. Unfortunately, the victim succumbed to her injuries. And I stop there now and go into why I think Long Street should be designated as Mariah Regina Smith Forever 12th Street. In my travel now as a city councilman and my travel working for Councilman Colleen Brown, I travel a lot of places. And I always wondered why some street was renamed and certain was designated. And I always believed that the designation meant a little bit more than just renaming of the street, because the designation becomes a conversation piece, kind of like the change Washington National Airport to Reagan National Airport. Why? Somebody asked, why did that change? Well, those who thought Ronald Reagan was a good president explained why that took place. Well, I think that this is the situation here in the death of this young 12-year-old young lady. Long Street goes from Marion all the way down to Lake Jeffrey. Another 1,000 feet here at the Garden Rest where her gravesite is. It's one of the most traveled streets in Northeast Lake City. The history is there. It's been Long Street forever. Long Street was paved, Mill Street was paved, but every other street on the side of that town was dirt. I know that for a fact because I was part of the whole progress. The designation is a way to memorialize her name, but it becomes a conversation piece, man. I was thinking just yesterday, I got a 10-month-old great-grandchild. 12 years from now, he'll be 23, Mariah would have been 24. Just walk with me on this. You're riding down the road with somebody, they said, Mama, why is that sign, what's that sign about? Then somebody need to tell the story. That's named after a young lady, baby, that was in a house, watching the TV at night, and died from a gunshot wound. Well, you got the 12, well, she was 12 years old when it happened. So, man, I think the time is right. It's the right time to do it. Yes, it will not bring her back, and yes, it's going to be a reminder to the family members and those of us who drive up down Long Street. But also it becomes a conversation piece. And I think that's one way we can keep her name alive forever. Somebody said that she didn't die in vain. Well, this is a small step in that direction. And that's what I'm proposing. It's not just a Glen Arbor proposal. I had talked to some other people about it. It's the right thing to do. I think that it should start at Marion Street. So when you turn off of Marion Street, head east, that's west on Long Street, there should be a sign there that says Memorial. Well, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I don't have a problem saying her name because there's just so much going on, man. It's just, when you think about it, Mr. Mel, in Jacksonville, you have these killers all the time. When somebody gets killed on the east side of Jacksonville, 10-year-old, 12-year-old, if you're on the north side of Jacksonville, they don't even bother. You don't even know them. You don't even come in contact with. It's like a whole different town. But in this town right here, you know, that young lady's death has touched everybody in this town that know about it. So I don't think I need to sell it to you, but I'm just saying the rationale behind this is that it will live forever. And the conversation should be about this would happen. And hopefully, prayerfully, in the future, somebody who think about it, that would have heard the story and said, oh, I'm not going to do that. Because I heard this story about this 12-year-old that was in his grandmama's house, watching the TV, and died from a gunshot wound that came through the wall and killed her. And that's my rationale, man. The family members are in support of it. And I don't know what the attorney got to do about it, but I know that I was coming from Tallahassee last week, and it seems that most of those signs are brown in the state of Florida. You know, I don't care the county's brown, the state's brown, so maybe there's something, the brown must have got something to do with the designation. So that's what I'm talking about. If you want to change the name of the street, that's a lot more involved. You got 911 got to get involved, the post office got to get involved, but it's a simple designation. It remains Long Street, but it becomes a way to memorialize the young lady's life, and it become a conversation piece that people would understand that it ain't just named because of some small reason, but it's named because of an important reason. And I think her death should be recognized and remembered forever and forever.
Okay, thank you. I didn't put this on for an action item because I think our attorney needs to do a little research to see, because I think the sign's brown for a reason. I think they do that. And I'd ask Mr. Kenneth to do that. I don't know if any of the other council want to comment at this time.
Yes. Mariah was a close family member. And I think this is a great idea, and I support it 100%. And I think this will be a great way of showing that we're remembering Mariah. My family members, it's a lot going on now. And Dietrich, I sympathize with you. Excuse me. My son was shot as well, but he didn't lose his life. But Dietrich, whatever I can do to make this happen, I'm all in. And y'all got the stuff that's going on. I haven't been coming around. And I hope it gets ironed out, this situation. Cause it is bad. We got a big family and it's got our family tore up.
I would like to, say, I think this is an awesome idea, about the sign. And it's something that when you pass, of course, it will bring back memories. But I want us to get to a space where when we say Mariah, it's gonna bring good memories. And because that wasn't the end, that gunshot was not the end. There's a lot that's gonna come out of this, and we see now already that events are flourishing and relationships will begin to flourish. There's a lot that's gonna come out of this. It seems so bad, but there's gonna be such great things. And the idea of the sign, and when Mr. Bowden said that date, it came to me just as plain, and it doesn't say the end. It does not say the end. And another thing is not the end. We are not gonna give up on this community. Mariah's death is going to make a change in this community, which it has began already. And in order for it to do that, we need justice. And we're not saying a whole lot about justice when we talk about Mariah. And Mariah would say to us, I know if she could speak back to us, she would say to us, it's gonna happen. There's gonna be justice. I just believe that. And I know we're not hearing what we want to hear from law enforcement. I'm not hearing what I want to hear from law enforcement, but we're not giving up. There will be justice. It's not the end. The sign is not the end. The community events is not the end. It's only the beginning. And we're not going to rest. Let me tell you something. I haven't rested well myself. We're not going to rest until we get justice. If we don't get justice for Mariah, then it's death for someone else. No justice for Mariah means death for someone else, and we're not going to stand for it. And I'm not out there holding signs, and you don't hear my voice a whole lot, but there are people who hear my voice, and they're hearing my cry, and they're hearing my what we want. So if we just, I said all that, and I wasn't going to say this, but we have to allow the process. I wasn't going to say that, but there's a process. And we're going to walk through that process, and we're going to get to justice. Family, I know it's not easy, but hold on. Don't give up. Hold on. Thank you so much.
I think it's a great idea. I think to lose a child in the prime of life, that child at 12 years old is anything that she wants to be as she grows. And I think a community is only as strong as its memories and what they remember going forward. And this kind of activity could affect any one of us here in the city. We hear the gunfire, we see the gunfire detectors going up. Hopefully that'll make a difference going forward. I agree, we need justice. The shooters need to be brought to justice on this, but more importantly, the community needs to embrace the family. No justice brings that child back. And to me, that's the biggest issue. So I think anything we could do to help the family, I'm all for it. And I'm definitely for the sign. Do it the right way. I would even say once we designate the street, I'd be all for reaching out to the state to get a state designation. I know Mr. Bowden may know how that works, but I think the more this story is told, it does uncover the hurt and the pain, but it lets people know there is something beyond this.
Also, yes, sir. Also, Mr. Bowden, great idea. And I'm glad that we have community leaders like you to come up and approach the diocese on what we can do to help that family. I'm pretty sure that family is related to me some kind of way. Mr. Hill here, it really has tore him up. And we have decided, as you can see, unanimously, to make sure that the process of justice shall be served. And we want to remember her in the appropriate way. And from my understanding, she was a great student. So, job well done.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Council. As I take my seat, let us remember also, Mariah touched us. She's 14 years old. When I was out to the cemetery, I have a reason to go out there on a pretty regular basis. And it's at least 5 sites out there of people who died from gun violence. Mariah the youngest, and she touched us in a matter way, but just think about this. That's not a big cemetery. I count at least 5 people that's grave status that have died from gun violence, either domestic, street violence. So just think about that. You coming down a long street that's gonna become Mariah Forever 12, and headed to the cemetery, and there's Mariah there, and there's another 4 people out there that died from violence and gun violence. So, in its totality, we need to talk about Mariah for sure, but we need to talk about the whole gun violence issue and what we can do as a community to eradicate ourselves from this violence. Thank you, ma'am, so much for the opportunity, and I hope the attorney will move on this pretty fast. We don't want to be 6 months from now talking about the sign.
Okay, next will be Reverend Dr. Green.
Good evening, and I also want to say thank you so much for speaking to this issue and supporting the issue. I'm coming forward in reference to the $200,000 that was graciously appropriated at the last meeting. A recommendation that there be a committee put together or a panel put together that will put criteria together. That criteria needs to be beyond your name and how much. And I think that you spoke to this as well, Councilwoman Young, saying that people need to come forward every year. And there needs to be clear outcomes that what is your program gonna do? What do you anticipate it to do, and what are the outcomes? Those need to be written. And then they need to come back the following year and say, well, maybe we didn't achieve all of the outcomes, but to support, we know that all the outcomes might not be able to, but at least there is some oversight and some accountability. And so the funds are there, but the question becomes, how does one qualify for the funds? What is one going to do with the funds, and what are the outcomes expected from the funds that are approved? And I guess another piece of that would be how much? I don't know, Mr. Mayor, I don't know who that panel would be. I know in talking with Mr. Bowden that he suggested that it could be staff that could do it. I also, in the email that I sent to all of you, I also offered if I would love to work with the committee to come up with the criteria and then back right on out after that. But I'd love to work with them if a volunteer is acceptable. I'd love to do that, to help with that. It's working with that committee too, because I know the staff, you guys get a lot of stuff to do. And if I can help in any way to work with the committee to create the criteria, the outcomes and that kind of thing, I'd love to do that. I don't want, my objective is, I don't want to see that money piddled away and then nothing happened with it. Because we didn't ask for anything at the top. We didn't ask for anything except how much money do you need?
And I totally agree, and that's why we've got staff working on an application, and then I'm gonna probably have a workshop to do what you're talking about of how we do it.
Okay, thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
I appreciate it.
Mr. Warren?
Council Mayor Sylvester Warren, 930 Northeast Joe Coney. All I can do is reiterate what many other people have come before me and said. I think Mariah has touched everybody. I think it's way beyond Lake City. I think that what gave me the greatest pleasure is that the street community has gone to social media and say all bets off. Snitching don't matter in this case. I mean, I don't know whether law enforcement have seen that, but there have been people on social media saying that that's not snitching. That has gone beyond the rules of the game. And so I was proud to see that community was stepping up in such a way to say, hey, look, that's not tolerated, that's not acceptable. However, I would disagree with you, Ms. Young. I doubt very seriously that Mariah is in heaven asking and saying the things that you're saying. I think if Mariah were to speak right now, she would be saying, let my mother and my cousin go that is sitting in jail on $100,000 bond for something that she didn't do when law enforcement told them that they were only gonna be arrested for a simple battery. And then when you get them down to the jailhouse, the same system that failed them is now the same system that's punishing them and charged them with burglary and criminal mischief. And now you got a mama of 4 kids and a mama of 2 kids, one who is a nurse and the other who works for Nick Patel, incarcerated to this day. Cost tens of thousands of dollars to bury Mariah just a weekend ago. Now you're asking for this community to come up, or these parents to come up with $20,000+ to get her out of jail. What should have happened with this $200,000 and what should have been happening with this crime? And I came before this same podium, y'all same folks sitting here, and I said, let's get a gunshot detector months ago. Y'all let the chief come up behind me and tell me that was a horrible idea and a waste of money. Then you let him come up a few months later and beg y'all for the same thing I asked for. You know what? That could have saved Mariah's life months ago. But y'all didn't want it because it was a Sylvester idea. That's fine. Then next thing is, why we don't have any grief counseling for these moms and these parents who experience these type of situations of gun violence. And you know what probably would have happened, Mayor? If y'all learn to listen to people like Sylvester and people in the community when we elect y'all and we try to tell y'all what the community want, because y'all busy working, you busy practicing law, he's busy getting his laundromat going, he's busy out there playing cornhole, he's busy out there in the woods hauling putwood. We're all in the community talking and saying the things that we need to see and the things that we want. And so the things that we need and the things that we want, Mayor, are grief counseling for these parents that's going through these things. And these things could have been prevented. What happened? That parent was grieving so hard that her grieving spilled over into a cat fight, and your officers, right, inflated that cat fight into a charge that never should have been. But I sit here and look at this council, and I look at one person, a part of this family member, and I sent pictures to each and every one of y'all, so y'all had it. But not one of y'all have done anything or said anything to the administration to make sure that those charges get amended and them young girls come home to the rest of their family they got left. So there's no respect for this council as it relates to me as the way that Mariah parents and Mariah family is being done by law enforcement. In my opinion, I think y'all need to start over with the whole administration from scratch.
Okay, we're way past our 3 minutes. All right, that's all I have on that. Next is approval of presentation. Richardson Community Center funding request in the amount of $12,835 for e-gaming program. Tammy here.
Tammy Magstad from Richardson Community Center. Okay, I have a presentation here. This is the first program that we're bringing to you that is actually non-sports related. So I'll just let you know when to do it. Basically, the project is called eSports, and it's a gaming initial setup is what I'm here for the funding. You can go to the next one. So the things we're gonna go over today are the project overview, the target audience, example pictures, and moving forward. Okay. The cost, I gave you each a cost sheet so you could see that's gonna be the last screen on here. But what our goal is to train a manager to run the program, set up stations that are portable and have easy access, and the cost involved is the one-time setup. The only kind of thing that's gonna have cost after that, besides paying people to actually administer and run the program, is a game pass that costs $120 a year. And that is access to all the different, that's the annual fee. I'm just telling you this because the whole cost that I gave you is literally the setup fees. Okay, and it's like a one-time fee. All right, Florida Gateway College's esports coach John Hartzog and Director of Community Outreach Travis George have committed to help us get this set up. I met with both of them and they showed me the different setup that they have out there, and then the layout that John's the one that put up what this would cost. So it's not like something I just came up with. He put the program together, what each thing would cost. Okay, so the next one. The target audience would be students, families, and all ages. We kind of have an idea, we talked this over, of ways we could do this to help the community to be able to get it started. We would have to do an open house and put flyers out to just see who we get, different ages. And we would have to literally sort the ages out and see how they would work to do it. Because it's not like you can just put in a first starter and then someone that's done it for years. But we can separate the programs and then offer the different things as we go. There's going to be 65-inch television screens, and there'll be Xbox, Nintendo. They're going to build into consoles, and they're rolled on carts, which you can go ahead and turn to the next one. This is an example of a couple of the things, and there will be 10 different stations. They are on rollers, and each screen being 65 inches, they said that they could have about 6 kids for a recreational game, and then when we get into tournaments, it wouldn't be as many kids. But this literally would end up being able to be spread out with that many different children. It's got its own power source once it's plugged into an outlet. Okay, you can go to the next one. Okay, so this is the budget. This is what it would cost. Now, what we're looking at is if we did an open house night, now that's just listing the cost for what it's going to take to get it set up. And this is from the last of the funding, which would have been from 2023, the $12,835. How we said we would start at 2 is we would do like an open house, have different ones stop in, and just see what kind of response we get. But we're looking towards having this be something for the kids. There's improved powers of concentration, creativity, memory, language, and teamwork. And they are going to learn educational contents and then develop cognitive skills. So this is what I'm saying more, that it's going to be more educational. It's still games, it's a gaming thing. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's, oh yeah, it's just sitting down with different subjects of school. But it is a program where the kids will be learning things, learning teamwork, and it can go into actually tournaments if we decide, just depending on where we go with it. Does anyone have any questions?
John, you got a question? Yes.
No, we're not charging for this. This is the setup for money.
Mr. Mayor. You have a question? Mr. Mayor has some questions.
Sure.
Okay, I think the startup cost is all reasonable. The rollout is what I'm kind of concerned about is I think a targeted marketing campaign is going to be the most effective. I think depending on how you communicate what's available is going to be crucial. If this is done right and rolled out right, it can be huge. It can be large events, but if we don't execute, or if Richardson does not execute the rollout, it's going to be a lot of equipment sitting in a building not doing anything, and that's not the purpose. So is there a date set up for the initial open house, or?
No, what we're trying to do is if the money does come through, we would have this set up by December. And then I was talking with John about it. He has a couple different guys that would help us with this. And he said that you can do a doodle poll, and a sign-up genius, where you would literally have online signups, because we were talking about that too, because you send a flyer out, where do you take it? Right now, for our programs we're doing, we have a Facebook page, and then we have a website, but otherwise I put signs on our door. So this would be more online, and we would set up programs online.
I think that's good, but I think we need to think a lot of the kids we want to reach here are not going to have access to the technology needed to know. So one thing you could do, and I know that the superintendent will have you work through the individual principals, but each school you could have flyers go to every classroom. I mean, that's definitely something you could do, and I would recommend, because we all get stuff the kids bring home saying, here's a sign up for this, here's a sign up for that. And I tell you, when that kid wants to do it, they're gonna bug you till they do it.
Yeah.
And so I think that would have more effect than a sign on the door. So if you could get to the schools and depending on the age group you wanna target, I think you'll have to have more than one event. You'll have younger kids and older kids. I would be interested in the dates. I think that this council should be involved in some way at an open house to at least attend the event, and see what's going on.
Yes, we welcome that. And I have gone to the school board before and gotten the process of what it takes to send it out into the schools. And that is a possibility. Because you have to go through the school board, you have to go through each school, through each classroom.
It wouldn't be a bad idea to do a event of interest to find out who's
Yes.
interested before you go out and purchase all of this gaming stuff and then find out. But a lot of children like games, but most of them like it at their own home. So you really need to set up an event of interest and have the parents and the students come out and see how many you have who are interested.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
So to that point, I think that's a very good point. So if, I think the funds are allocated for this fiscal year, but I would be fine with setting those funds aside to be dispersed once that interest comes back, and say you have enough children interested. Because if you got 3 people,
Right.
I mean, we can find another way to use that money somewhere. But if you have 100 kids, maybe 12,000 is not enough. Maybe 10 systems or the 5 Xbox subscriptions might not be enough. So I would say, and this is the last time we're doing this, I think we talked about in our meeting before, going forward, there's gonna be an application for any funding. I think that was unanimous by this board. So
I think we should.
I think if you get the notification of interest, I would be in favor of the fund's already designated for Richardson, it's sitting there. So I'd be fine with it and have an administration release it once they get that notice of interest that like Ms. Young had mentioned, because I think it's crucial to know the kids wanna do it. I think it's gonna be popular. I mean, my opinion is it will be.
Yes. Mr. Barrett, may I speak? Sure. I just got a couple of questions, when it comes to this, this e-gaming. Is it gonna be done for after school? Is it gonna be done in the summer? Is it gonna be done on holidays? Let me tell you why I'm asking these questions, because from my understanding now, if you go to the schools, most of the programs that we're talking about, they have them to the school. So you get them at the school, then you turn right around and put them at the community center. So it would have to be like an after-school program that we are talking about. And I also, when I got the information about this, I also called the college. They got it at the college level too. So they got it at all of the schools, and now we're talking about having it at Richardson Community Center. Me personally, I didn't understand why. I still don't understand why. If they got it at the schools already, and every child has got that opportunity and their parents to click on that subject, I don't know why they don't take it, because it's free. It don't cost you anything, it doesn't cost the city anything, it's free of charge. So, and again, I'm all for opportunities for these children to get their minds rolling in the right direction. But if they're not doing it at the school, what makes you think they'll do it at Richardson Community Center?
This would be after school and on weekends, we'd offer it. And then if it gets to be, it depends on, just like they're saying, like Ms. Young's saying, it depends on what kind of interest we get. But the more interest we get, it can explode, or it may be something that doesn't go very far. But we will start with after-school programs. We can go into the weekends and nights if we need to. It just depends on the ages also, because we may get a heavier load on the elementary, or we may get a heavier load on the high school. We've got basically like a elementary school, middle school, high school. College level, you're right, goes into Florida Gateway. But some of them are willing to come and work with the kids and teach them the different ways that this can go.
My concern is, again, what I'm about to say, I'm all for the kids, but we just gave less than 2 months ago 20-some thousand to Richardson. Again, I don't know your budget, what you do with your money, but it seemed like you would take, my opinion, you would take some of that $26,000 and get this kicked off, then come bring that before us to show that it's working. But you instead, you coming back with another, asking for another $12,000+.
The money we got 2 months ago was for the summer camp, and it was a reimbursement from what we had spent. And going forward, the reason I'm bringing this program here is because we're trying to get things that are not just sports related, because that's been what a lot of the community says. They don't just want it for sports, they want something else. So the Florida Gateway worked together with me on this and helped me, because I don't really know that much about it, but I did the research and worked with them. And this amount fulfills the last of the 2023. Now, next I have going, if you want to know the other sideline things, we've got a health fair coming up, we've got a cheerleading camp that we're working on, because we've heard it also said they want things for the girls. So we're trying to find the different programs to be able to offer to you. And I'm going through things and saying, okay, if you'd rather have something that's not sports, then we'll go on it and we'll find it and we'll get the program and we'll bring you the costs. We'll tell you everything you want. And that's what I'm saying to you is, I'm just trying to give you the things you want so that we can go and do the programs at the center. And for the different kids and for the different things that they're interested in. Another thing we're working on, okay, so we've got the health fair coming up, we've got the cheerleading camp. And then I thought, I'm working on this. Then the next thing I'm gonna work on is cooking programs. Cooking programs, because we have a stove, a refrigerator, and a big sink in our cafeteria. That's all we have. But I'm not gonna start working on the cooking programs until I find out what happens with this. I kind of basically can just do like one big program at a time. So that's why.
With the pleasure of council, this is item 8 and item 10 deals with this. So I'd like to bring item 10 ahead of the budget and let's finish this up if that's okay.
I gotta speak on it, Mayor. You got
That's why I'm fixing to have public comments.
Okay, so I'm done.
Okay, Mr. Warren, you can speak on
So I can speak item 7, and by the way, Mayor, you skipped the whole portion of public comments. By the way, I don't think you meant to do it, but I think it's probably age and glasses. Mr. Mayor, first of all, it blows my mind that y'all are willing to put $12,835 into a program, and you hear Councilman Jernigan say, oh, I care about the kids, but he's shammed the rod up the kids behind over at Annie Maddox where he's born and raised, right? Y'all said it was gonna go through a process and it was gonna be application. Richardson show up and the Puritan lady shows up, then everything changes, you know? And then as far as programs are concerned, right? There's been several meetings with the Richardson board. And what was suggested to them, right? This is what all y'all adults do. Y'all wanna tell the kids what y'all think they should do. I'm 43 years old, so we shop marbles, right? So if I go up there and say, let's have a marble contest, ain't nobody gonna show up. Because most people, including y'all sitting up there in the Richardson community, y'all too dumb to listen and put in a teen advisory board. So that way, you're asking the kids what they want, and they're advising you to the things that they need and that they will participate in, and then the Community Richardson board would help to implement the things that the kids want. And that's the whole point that y'all keep missing. Stop trying to sell kids what y'all want them to have, and let the kids sell y'all what they need and what they want, and then you'll get the participation. But all the stuff you're doing now is completely out of order from the way that Councilman Jernigan reversed everything last week. And why y'all asking for their level 2 background checks?
Oh, true.
I don't get it. What has Miss Annie Maddox done to you all? Did she not do something right? What did one of y'all cousins like her and she turned them down? What did Miss Annie Maddox do? She didn't play to a certain music. What did she do? That she just like everybody else, her place can't get the funding and get treated differently and singled out. And she's a historical landmark, just like the rest of the Richardson Gym and Me Black. I just don't understand. What did she do to y'all, man?
Nothing.
Well, why she get treated differently?
I don't think she is.
She do. Level 2, no money for the physical year. Y'all gave $30,000 to the Richardson Gym through the physical year. Mr. Jernigan, who was raised over there, mama worked over there, probably rolled over in her grave. He denied 30 grand.
Okay, 3 minutes is up.
Y'all just don't care about the hood, do y'all?
All right,
Even the black ones up here.
discussion of Richardson Community Center funding request.
I'm gonna ride y'all tonight in a good way.
Mr. Mayor, point of order. Public participation, if you go to Article 2, Section 2-44, public participation, I'd ask that you hold to the rules on that for the 3 minutes of time for the meeting.
I agree.
I second.
All right, everybody understand 3 minutes. And that's when that, it blows,
That's not cumulative, that's total.
uh,
For the rules.
yes.
Okay. So are we gonna discuss this?
Yes.
For now? Okay. So, Mr. Mayor, we set these funds aside for Richardson. We did talk at the last meeting about going forward and having an application process. That didn't apply to the current year funding as I understood it. I don't know if anyone had a different thought on that. I am for authorizing staff to release this once the notice of interest is provided and they have some kind of backing, because we did set these funds aside in good faith previously.
We said these things aside.
This is part of the set, it's already in the budget set aside, yes, that's correct. Another item is I heard background checks mentioned. I did ask, I believe that everyone at Richardson has had a level 2 background check. I would ask that of Tammy, is that correct? Could you come to the podium? Mr. Mayor, would you ask her, or allow me to ask her about the background?
Go ahead.
Now, is it correct that you do level 2 background checks on all volunteers?
Yes, we do, and all employees.
And all employees, okay.
2. Yeah. That was before my time.
Okay, I just wanted to verify that because I'd heard that on one of the county meetings. I don't remember whether it was you talking to them at their board meeting. I know it was brought up. I hadn't heard it on their meeting. But I would be in favor of this, but again, with the idea that that notice of interest is filed first. So I make a motion to that effect.
Let me clarify that. So if she sent back the notice of interest, are we gonna look at that and vote on it again?
I would say we empower the staff to make that decision if they're okay with that.
When do you need the power of, need that information by?
I would say, if
Because
it
I
were
can
me,
plan
Mr.
to
Mayor,
have-
I'd say you need at least 30 days to get that information.
Yeah, take that long.
Okay.
All right,
If I can say, as far as the youth advisory board, I've met with several during the conference in Orlando. I've also spoken with guidance here, gotten 2 principals and 1 teacher who will assist in reaching out to the students. So we are working on, also administration, working on getting the proper procedure and talking to counties who are already have this program going. So we will look to the youth for their advice.
was that a second? That was second?
I can speak to this. I can speak to this. Yeah.
Okay, is there a second?
Mr. Rosenberg.
The motion is to authorize the release of funds by administration once the notice of interest is provided. She has approximately 30 days to get that taken care of. And the motion provides for funding in the amount of $12,835 for the esports gaming program.
from this current year's budget.
from fiscal year, this current fiscal year.
Yes, so what about the application process?
That is for things that start on October 1st. These funds were already allocated at the beginning of the year. So funds through the end of this fiscal year were not subject to that per the council discussion last meeting.
I second.
Any further comment or council?
Mr. Mayor, you avoiding me to speak on this?
You done spoken. Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Hill? Sorry, did you say no? No, okay. Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Winn?
Yes. Okay, this is the budget. The purpose of this public meeting is to accept input from all interested parties relative to the discussion, consideration, and final approval of the city's 23-24 proposed millage rate and operating budget. We offer the opportunity to all that attend to speak in regard to the budget and ask that all speakers identify themselves by name and address. At this time, the city finance director will provide a summary of the budget process and address those items essential to compliance with the state of Florida truth and millage trim requirements.
The city council proposes a final millage rate of 4.9000 mils and a final capital and operating budget of $74,899,102 for fiscal year 2023-2024. Council action tonight constitutes the final budget hearing as required by state trim criteria and is announced to the general public by advertisement in the Lake City Reporter published on September 14, 2023. During this hearing, the following agenda will be addressed. The council will discuss the 2023-2024 millage and operating budget and allow citizens input as appropriate. The council will direct and announce the final millage rate proposed for adoption and any increase, decrease, or no change. The city council will read by title millage resolution number 2023-101. The council will adopt millage rate resolution 2023-101 on final reading. The city attorney will read by title budget resolution number 2023-102. The council will adopt budget resolution number 2023-102 on final reading.
At this time, I declare the final budget hearing open for public discussion and input followed by discussion by the council. This will be the only speaking during the budget process for this item. Mr. Warren, you get to speak.
So, hold on, Ms. Now, let me get clarified. Are you saying that I can't speak anymore after this?
No, on this item.
Yeah, but you skipped public comments and then.
You spoke on public comments for more than about 4 or 5 minutes.
No, we spoke on item 1, man.
Okay, no, I'm not playing games tonight. Either talk on the budget for 3 minutes or sit down.
Man, you will watch you talking to me. I ain't the one to play with. Yeah, you will find you somebody to play with and you will find you somebody fast, and you know that.
I want you to sit down.
Say what?
I want you to sit down.
Don't let them just, that's what they want to do.
You want me to sit down?
Yes, sir.
So I can't speak on this issue?
No, sir.
Just let it ride, everybody see it.
Unless you want to apologize.
No, unless you want to apologize, because I hadn't said anything to you, Mayor.
The comment about the glasses and being old and all the other stuff you said. Now, you've got 3 minutes to talk on the budget, that's it.
Just go ahead and talk about it.
Now, number 1, I don't have a problem with the budget. I think that what most people are upset with when it comes to the budget, that the fire assessment is a part of that budget and is gonna really put elderly people in a very, very bad place, which this council can seem to, in my opinion, care less about. And there was money that could have been allocated in the budget for other programs that would have been helpful to curb youth violence that we didn't get into the budget as well. And I think that this budget moving forward in good conscience, I think is extremely unfair to the people who have to pay these taxes. And you've always told me that the organization chart starts with the citizens. Isn't that what you told me?
Yes.
And so if it starts with the citizen, who do you hear? If the citizens are here telling you what they want and what they don't want, what power do y'all have to override the citizens when we're the ones who allow y'all to serve at our pleasure? And so I think it's just very disrespectful on how y'all handle the budget. And I guess that's what they have elections for, and I guess that's what they have laws to recall people if necessary. But this is unfair, Mel. You know it's unfair. I've talked to you several times about certain things, and may I approach me? May I approach?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, will you please have this filed in the records, please? This young man was fired today for no good cause.
Okay, 3 minutes is up. Next is Vanessa George.
No, item 10. Oh, it's with item 10.
Okay,
Mayor, you got
we already voted on item 10. Richardson. Does anybody else want to speak on, Mr. Bowden?
Yeah, go ahead, right?
I know you voted on item 10, but I still want to make a comment on item 10. I called the board member from Richardson, and they said they have not done background checks in a number of years, but y'all just gonna take her word for it that they did background checks, and with Animatics, y'all wanna see background checks. It need to be the same across the board,
I agree.
but it ain't.
Mr. Bowden?
No, the public hearing on the budget.
Yeah, just comments on the budget.
I'm kind of confused now. And as I said to y'all in the past, man, the budget reflects the vision of the community. And I think the city manager and the finance people did, according to the charter, for present a balanced budget. I guess it is balanced how you would be approving it, and you did it without raising taxes, except for what Mr. Warren said, except for the assessment for the fire department. In fact, this, in my view, is the tax that we're paying, going to be paying more money for a service that I'm not sure I'm going to benefit from. Having said that, Mr. Mayor, that when I look through the budget, you know, I don't see much for infrastructure, and maybe there was no money to do it. My hope is in the next budget, you'll start looking forward, start thinking about street improvements, resurfacing, because there's nothing in this budget that ought to deal with none of those streets except for Patterson and a few more that need some help right now. It's too late to deal with it, but I think as you move forward to the next year, you start thinking of it, start thinking about what we're going to do to be sure those streets don't decay any further along those lines. But in this budget, there was nothing being addressed to the infrastructure from what I can tell from looking at it. I didn't see that in the budget, except for a project for Glen Lake, the Patterson Street. That's a grand project. So I think that next year, when y'all get together, I think as councilmen, you need to meet with the city manager and outline some things that you'd like to see in the budget. Because I can tell you, Gurley Brown Street over there, right down the street from me, it's like you're going on a roller coaster. So something needs to be done to that street for real. And we can't just wait on grants to do that. I know in the budget, Mayor, but I want to point out something. I know it's oversight on your part. At the beginning of the meeting, you moved 24 up to the top, correct?
Yes.
And we talked about it. But what Mr. Warren tried to point out to you is factual. You did not have an opportunity for public participation. You know, we skipped right over that. We went from, you moved the item up to the top, and we talked about that item, but you did not go back to public participation. For those of us who want to have a comment on public participation, that was not an opportunity to do that. I just want to point it out to you, so you don't get caught up in like you're beating up on my friend, when in fact, there was an error, you did jump over that public participation part of it.
Okay, and Mr. Dial did during the budget process say one reason we're not doing a lot of projects this year is because of the cost and the problem with supplies.
Mr. Mayor, could I ask a question? Sure. Ms. Fountain, what was that street name? I didn't catch it. Was it Gurley?
Gurley.
Gurley.
Okay, anybody else on the budget? If not, we'll move on and we'll have comments of council. Got any comments on the budget? Yeah, I don't think the staff is doing a good job. I hate that we had to raise the fire rate, but like the chief said, we hadn't done it in a while, and it's either take it out of the general fund or do it the way it's supposed to be. If there's no further comments regarding this matter, I now ask the city finance director to state for the record, the taxing authority, the millage rate to be adopted, the rollback millage rate, any change to final millage rate represents to the current year's millage.
The City Council of the City of Lake City, as a taxing authority, proposes a final tax on all property located within the City of Lake City, Florida, at the rate of 4.9000 mils for fiscal year 2023-2024 operating budget. The current year proposed operating millage rate is a 7.30% increase from the 4.5668 rollback millage rate as defined by Florida statutes, and represents no change from the previous year's millage rate of 4.9000 mils.
And I ask the city attorney to read millage resolution number 2023-101 by title.
City Council Resolution number 2023-101, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, adopting a millage rate for the levy of ad valorem taxes for the city for fiscal year 2023-2024 and providing an effective date.
I call for a motion for final adoption of millage resolution 2023-101.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make that motion. I'm trying to look for that particular, resolution number 2023-101. On the final reading.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion by council? Ms. Sykes, you call the roll.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Nope.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. I now ask city attorney to read budget resolution number 2023-102 by title.
City Council Resolution number 2023-102, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, adopting the budget for fiscal year 2023-2024 and providing for an effective date.
I call for a motion for final adoption of budget resolution 2023-102.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion for final adoption of City Council Resolution 2023-102.
Second.
A motion and a second, any discussion on this?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to discuss this one as well. I know I talked to just about every department head and the finance director over there, and they work really, really hard to make sure that this is something that we had to do. And I just want to let them know how much I appreciate them for the things that they've done in their department. So I really appreciate it.
Okay. Any other comment? Ms. Sykes, you call the roll.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
No.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Okay. Next is discussion of the September 11, 2023 vote regarding section 253 of the Code of Ordinances related to the compensation of mayor and council members. Mr. Tillman.
Yes, sir. At that meeting, there was a voice vote taken to rescind, I guess, the 3% raises called for by section 2-53 of the code. My recollection was the vote was 4-1. When we analyzed it legal, the 2-53 used the word shall as far as the annual adjustment, and therefore that vote would have been inadequate to nullify or allow the council to forfeit their 3% raise. So the only way the 3% raise for this year, it depends on what raise is given each year annually for employees across the board for the city, but this year was 3%. And therefore, it is our opinion that that vote could not and did not modify that ordinance, and that the 3% would remain in the budget.
Mr. Warren, you want to speak to this?
Mr. Mayor, can we get an attorney that don't have an opinion but have municipality facts? And first of all, change the ordinance. I mean, I think 4 people agreed. I don't see nobody on this council that I can think of that deserves a raise equal to the employees. I don't see nothing they've done. Mariah mama and cousin in jail. I don't see nothing that they've done as far as in the community. Anything that they know about in the community is because the community reported to them. And so I can't see how they can sit here, any of y'all can sit here in good conscience and let the attorney say that y'all cannot. Y'all can do it. It may require some work, right? But it can be done. And I think the right thing to do is to say, hey, look, I'm gonna be honest. Some of us just got here. It ain't right. I haven't worked that hard. I haven't done nothing outstanding to deserve a raise other than meet here 2 days a week and pretty much say no to the most critical community that needs the most help. And so it would be asinine. It would be the most horrible suggestion that you could even do with the budget money is to give elected officials sitting here that don't deserve it, man. Y'all voted 4-1 and said y'all don't deserve it. And so I would send my attorney who works for you all and you all don't work for him back out to find a way to make it happen. That's what he gets paid for. That's just like Paul Dow. They get paid, y'all get paid, y'all get voted in to make the decisions. He get paid to go find a legal way to make it work. He get paid to make it be implemented. That's how that go. I don't understand how y'all keep letting this thing run in reverse and run the way that everybody else wanted, other than the way that it's designed and structured. And then y'all sit there slumped in your chairs, won't say nothing, won't open your mouth, catch you on the cell phone, you got a lot to say, you get up here in front of the public, you got family in here, there's people hurting, people crying, y'all can give less than a darn, and these are the same people that went to war to keep y'all and put y'all in office. Now you're spitting in their face like they ain't nothing. And they're sitting here watching it. Nobody has said nothing. Nothing that makes sense as it relates to a patient with the most critical issue, which is the black community and the black people, and it's been like that for 450 years. It's 2023, man. Got 16 seconds, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna let it ride out, but I just want that to sink in. And half of the council look like us. And Todd know how well and how hard black people worked on his behalf to get him elected. I just don't understand how you can do a community like that.
Hey, Mr. Bowden?
Mr. Mayor, I understood what the city attorney said, that it says shall. I guess shall means shall. But shall doesn't mean they just have to accept it. Shall mean that it's in the budget. I was on the city council, I'm glad Mr. Sachs pointed out to me, and I voted for it. That was in 1988. I think about $8,000 a year there. And the thinking then, man, just speaking for myself, I'm not gonna speak for Mr. Collins or Mr. Cole or anybody else. But I was thinking then, well, you know, the best way to do this is just we just tie it into the employees and we won't have this pushback because nobody be paying attention. We just give them a 5% raise, we get a 5% raise. It was selfish to me. It was the most selfish vote I ever did. I was thinking about planning. I should have been thinking about the people. That ordinance needs to be, just like you made a motion up to Jeremy to deal with that resolution, this ordinance needs to be dealt with. Because just think about it, man. Next year, there may be some money available. You decide on a 5% raise. And the city council don't get a 5% raise, when the people who got a pothole in the middle of the street or a gas leak, they don't get a 5%. You know, I didn't deserve it then. And I tell you right now, you definitely don't deserve it. It's not an equivalent. You're not equivalent to employees. It's a bad ordinance. The four of you who voted that didn't want it, then donate it to the rec department or somebody else. Don't take it. If you don't want, you don't have to take it. You can change the ordinance. But this ordinance needs to be dealt with, Mayor. Think about this. Ms. Young just got elected. Mr. Jennings just got elected. They come to work and get a raise. Ain't been there a year. Next year, 3 of y'all may be replaced. There may be 3 new members next year. If you don't change this ordinance, you may get 5% raise. So you come to work, get sworn in as a new mayor, and you're gonna get a 5% raise just because you got elected. Let that sink in. That's not fair. That's not right. If an elected official want to get a raise, come up with a way to do it and put it in front of the public. Be bold enough to sit up here and say, okay, last year I worked so hard, Mr. Mayor and Mr. Council, I think I deserve a 5% raise. And let the public hear you say that. Because what I did in 1988 was try to hide it, put it into the budget. Nobody be paying attention, but so happen now you got people like Mr. Warren, myself, and some others paying attention to the budget. Back then, what am I paying attention? So we just hid in there. Give yourself the 3% raise, the 5% raise. Employees are not gonna say anything. Nobody paying attention. After a while, a city councilman and a mayor be making almost as much as an employee coming to work at the first time. I said at the last meeting, I saw a police officer, the minimum starting at $33,000. Your salary was at 20. The councilman making 19. You making 2/3 of what a person that work every day. It don't make no sense. The ordinance is bad. Somebody up here at the next meeting proposed this and rescind this ordinance. I think that can happen. The ordinance is a bad one. It's self-serving, and you need to get rid of it. It's unfair to the people in the city. And the chart said, people at the top, then the mayor, the city council, then the city manager. In this situation here, in 1988, we put the city council above the people, and you're doing the same thing today.
Thank you. Mr. Kennan, it says shall, and that ordinance, we can amend the ordinance and.
The ordinance can be changed. You have to go through the necessary process of the 2 readings and the necessary public notices.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
So I had called Mr. Kennan to ask that very question, and he had recommended that the easiest thing would be to amend the ordinance to allow for an opt-out vote. I think that's what you had recommended.
That was one option.
I don't know which is easier. 1989 was a whole different time period. I know if you take those funds and you look at them and you analyze them with inflation, you know, that's one thing. But the second thing is, going back to the budget, where can this money be better used? I would like to see at least an opt-out at a minimum. I know one thing, we had a previous manager way back when Mr. Johnson was here, that he did merit raises instead of blanket raises. And when he did that, then the council wasn't affected raise-wise. That was a question I'd asked as well. So if administration decided to go back to merit raises in the future, then that would also defeat this. But for me, at the very least, I'd like to see some kind of modification to allow a vote out of it, because I mean, that makes the most sense, because we showed last meeting that 4 people out of the 5 voted no. I don't know if we can amendment for this year, but I would like to see the ordinance changed and add an opt-out at the very least, if we can't repeal it completely.
If we change it to May, that would be an opt-out.
That's gonna take some investigating. I mean, we can do that. We can deliver several probably different options. We just have to make sure we coordinate it with the wage laws, because that's where it ties in together. So if Mr. Sampson wants maybe several different ways to do it, we can come up with those. Opt-out for each individual council person, maybe being one option. Just need to look at that in comparison to the wage laws. But yes, we can research some options for you.
And we're not tied to minimum wage.
No.
Yeah, okay.
Everybody agreeable to have him look at options and see what we can do?
What's gonna happen about this year?
We're gonna find out when he lets us know.
No, there's nothing you can do about what's happening this year. This 3% is going in, there's,
Well, we can find out what the options are.
for next year.
All right, anything else on that?
Did everybody concur?
Everybody else concur? Okay. All right, we'll vote on it down the road. Under new business, we have City Council Ordinance 2023-2257 on first reading. Ken, would you read that by title?
Ordinance 2023-2257, an ordinance of the City of Lake City, Florida, amending Chapter 102 of the City Code of Ordinances, providing for amendments to the city's utilities, providing for severability, providing for the repeal of conflicts, providing for codification, and providing an effective date.
Mr. Barnes, do you want to speak to that?
Yes, ma'am. One of the things that I've noticed is there's an uptick on YouTube of people watching, and I think it becomes very unfair, not for me, not for Mr. Bowden, maybe Vanessa or Davion, that really understand the issues that are being discussed. And it would be very nice if at some point y'all can explain in layman's terms as to what we're voting on here as it relates to number 12. Like for instance, like I asked for something to get done, like for an investigation on employees that lie to me, but no members won't support me. So I filed ethics complaints to force their hand to get them to the point of being subpoenaed to corroborate that I did not lie. But when you start saying code, ordinance, amendment, city utility, a lot of people ain't reading the backup material because they're not on the agenda. They're not on the email agenda. So I think moving forward, Mel, we need to be a little bit more transparent with the people in the meeting because I think they're here to try to learn the process and there's people online watching. I don't think we should just be voting on stuff without explaining what we're voting on. I don't think he should just read the ordinance and then somebody come up in public speak and then y'all just vote on it and then people at home like, oh, okay. But they don't know what it was. I mean, can we work on improving that, Mayor?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion on City Council Ordinance 2023-2257 on first reading?
Mr. Mayor, make a motion for approval of City Council Ordinance 2023-2257 on the first reading.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Sykes, you call the roll, please.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Winn?
Yes. Next is City Council Ordinance 2023-2258 on first reading. Mr. Kenner, would you read that by title?
Ordinance number 2023-2258, an ordinance of the City of Lake City, Florida, amending the future land use plan map of the City of Lake City Comprehensive Plan as amended relating to an amendment of 50 or less acres of land pursuant to an application CPA 23-04 by the property owner of said acreage under the amendment procedures established in sections 163.3161 through 163.3248 Florida statutes as amended, providing for changing the future land use classification from residential moderate density less than or equal to 4 dwelling units per acre to residential medium density less than or equal to 8 dwelling units per acre of certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Lake City, Florida, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion for approval of City Council Ordinance 2023-2258 with the corrected reading. I noticed there was a misprint in the actual agenda where it says residential moderate density. The agenda says less than or equal to 8 twice, and it should have been 4 to 8, I believe. Isn't that what you read?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Sampson.
Second.
Did you want to speak to this one?
Yes. Mr. Sampson just made my point. Like, nobody reads the backup agenda. He just made my point, and that's why it's so important that we have these conversations. If he didn't read the back, and he's probably one of the only council member that read the backup agenda besides me, and that you notice that these mistakes in here, and nobody's concerned what's going on that property. Nobody's asking what we're gonna do with it. I don't care because it's our property. It's people still should know what is about and what's going there. It don't matter who it belongs to. These questions should be raised. But anyway, thank you, Mr. Sampson, for pointing that out, and that was one of the reasons I think that things should be explained now.
Okay, any comments or council? Ms. Sykes, you call the roll, please.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Winn?
Yes. Okay, next, City Council ordinance 2023-2259 on first reading. Mr. Kim, would you read that by title?
Ordinance number 2023-2259, an ordinance of the City of Lake City, Florida, amending the future land use plan map of the City of Lake City Comprehensive Plan as amended, relating to an amendment of 50 or less acres of land pursuant to an application CPA 23-05 by the property owner of said acreage under the amendment procedures established in sections 163.3161 through 163.3248 Florida statutes as amended, providing for changing the future land use classification from county commercial to city commercial of certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Lake City, Florida, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date.
You want to speak to this?
No, Vanessa got attitude, she don't want me speaking for nothing, seems like.
Is there a motion that the City Council ordinance 2023-2258?
59.
59, I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion for approval on the first reading, City Council ordinance number 2023-2259.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, so I have some questions. I know when we're in the process of doing annexation, we're having the property come in with the county designation on it. Now, like in this instance, we're going from county commercial to city commercial. I'm just not sure, and this is a question for administration, but is there a way that when the annexation is done, we could go ahead and at the same time, and this may not be possible, but at the same time, could we go ahead and zone it in a matching zoning within the city?
I think that's what it has to be if it comes in without a request for zoning change.
It can't be changed.
So going forward, I would just like to see on the new stuff, I know you guys are working on quite a few annexations, that when they come in, if we would go ahead and have the zoning at that time, I think that would make it a little bit smoother down the road for the development to move forward.
Okay. Anything else? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Ms. Young? Yes. Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Whit?
Yes. Okay, we removed item 15, item 16, the City Council ordinance 2023-2261 on first reading. Mr. Kim, would you read that by title?
Ordinance number 2023-2261, an ordinance of the City of Lake City, Florida, amending the official zoning atlas of the City of Lake City, land development regulations as amended, relating to the rezoning of 10 or less contiguous acres of land pursuant to an application Z 23-05 by the property owner of said acreage, providing for rezoning from residential single family to RSF2 to residential / office RO of certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Lake City, Florida, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date.
Okay, is there a motion that the City Council resolution 2023-2261?
Mr. Mayor, make a motion for approval of City Council ordinance 2023-2261 on the first reading.
Second.
Got a second, any discussion by council? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Whit?
Yes. Next is City Council ordinance number 2023-2262 on first reading. Mr. Kim, would you read that by title?
Ordinance number 2023-2262, an ordinance of the City of Lake City, Florida, amending the official zoning atlas of the City of Lake City, land development regulations as amended, relating to the rezoning of 10 or less contiguous acres of land pursuant to an application Z 23-06 by the property owner of said acreage, providing for rezoning from county commercial intensive CI to city commercial intensive CI of certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Lake City, Florida, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date.
Okay, is there a motion that City Council ordinance number 2023-2262?
Mr. Mayor, make a motion for approval of City Council ordinance number 2023-2262 on the first reading.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Whit?
Yes. Item 18 was removed. That leaves us at item 19, City Council Resolution number 2023-106. Mr. Kenny, would you read that by title?
City Council Resolution Number 2023-106, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing the execution of an amendment to the Public Transportation Grant Agreement for the second phase of the obstacle removal of trees vegetation at the Lake City Gateway Airport and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion on the City Council Resolution 2023-106?
Mr. Mayor, make a motion for approval of 2023-106.
Second.
Motion on the second. Mr. Dow, this is what we talked about, that I had an inquiry that's just cleaning up what's already been,
Yes,
is that correct?
yes.
Mr. Mayor, so to the point about further information, I believe what's happened is we're getting $56,000 more for the cleaning in the grant, correct?
Anything else? Ms. Oxley, call the roll.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
No.
Mr. Jernigan? Mayor Whit?
Yes. Next is City Council Resolution 2023-108. Kenny, would you read that by title?
City Council Resolution Number 2023-108, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing the execution of an amendment to the Public Transportation Grant Agreement for the design and install of security fencing, gates, access control improvements, installation of new cameras and lighting, and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion on the City Council Resolution 2023-108?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make that motion, on resolution 2023-108.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion by council? Ms. Oxley, call the roll.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Whit?
Yes. City Council Resolution 2023-110. Mr. Kenny, would you read that by title?
City Council Resolution Number 2023-110, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing the city to enter into change order number 1 to the contract between the city and Advantage Contracting Group, Inc. for repairs to the existing stadium seating area at Memorial Stadium, increasing the original contract price to a price not to exceed $38,475 and extending the project completion date an additional 7 calendar days.
The motion is the City Council Resolution 2023-110.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion for approval of City Council Resolution 2023-110.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion by council? Ms. Oxley, call the roll.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Whit?
Yes. Okay, project update, Mr. Powell.
Really, there hasn't been too much action on any of our projects for the last several weeks, because of the storm and the cleanup. We really don't have anything new other than we're still waiting on, for Patterson. We're still waiting for the contractor to get started on that. Other than the 2 resolutions that the council passed to move forward with 108 and 47, the sewer project, we'll have a kickoff meeting probably with that within the next week or 2 to get started on those projects. So hopefully next council meeting, we'll have a little more, action moving on the projects that we have and give a better update on what we have. Really nothing's changed in the last few weeks.
Okay, thank you. For informational purposes, the attorney's invoices were August. And we already took care of item 24, departmental administration. I don't see any comments of council.
I'd like to make one comment. When you talk about project updates, the sign over down here on Marion, when are we gonna have that moved down to the other end of
Yes, I spoke to the owner of the property. He's out of town right now, and once he returns to town, I'll be speaking with him about it.
Okay, no time limit though, is that what you're telling me?
I'm on his time right now.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else got any comments?
We got a motion to adjourn. So moved, Mayor.
Second. Second. Moving to second, all in favor, say aye.
What?